The lesson.
Oh, yeah.
Recently is when you've put out your new single, Like You, but now you're back on Warner.
Yes.
So again, what made you make the decision to go from Sony back to Warner?
Yeah, I mean, again, it was just what's in the best interest of my career. So Space Between came out last year, the start of last year. It did its thing, and then it was hard because Melbourne and Sydney were both in crazy lockdowns. There'd been some changes at Sony, people that were able to make decisions and sort of pull triggers on, signing off on budgets and stuff weren't there. The label was kind of like, it was kind of, what's the word? It was kind of like what's the fucking word? It was just unable to move. It was just stuck. So like, I was in the States and I was like, yo, I'm here. Everywhere back home is locked down. I got this song, so I had Like You ready to go. It's like, I want to shoot a video while I'm out here. And we couldn't even really get approval for that. So like, it just became a thing of like, okay, it's all love. I love the people at Sony, by the way. The people I worked with were fucking amazing. But it was just, I just need to do what's best for my career. And Warner, they were under new management. Dan Rosen, who's someone I've known for a long time, reached out and he was like, look, we'd love to have you back. And I was like, yeah, this might be the right thing to do. And so I went back and I don't regret it, yeah. I think if the pandemic hadn't happened, because the Space Between's rollout was so affected, and I know there's so many artists that are in the same boat, but yeah, it got so affected by the pandemic that it's one of those real, well, what if moments amongst the billions of what if moments regarding the pandemic. But I don't know if, yeah, it's just the way things played out,
And so that brings us all the way up until now. So we've
it's a
tried
long
to
way,
cover
bro.
it. Yeah, man, it's a hell of a run, man. And hopefully, it's not slowing down anytime soon. And now, just to wrap up the interview, just some generic questions that I tend to ask most people. A couple in particular, I think, are very suited to you because of the relationships that you've got with certain artists. One thing is first of all, you mentioned that you and 360 have had a relationship, since the early days. And one of the most epic moments in Australian rap history, in my opinion, was the Kerser 360 battle. I think that was 2010. Were you tuned into that, and were you pretty tight with 60 at that point in time? And can you remember what your recollections were of that, or you weren't really tapped into that when it happened?
No, I mean, I was aware of it. I don't know if me and Six were super close by that point. Was it 2010?
Around 2010.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. I just remember seeing it and thinking it was a fucking entertaining battle, man. And I think that, I can't remember people's opinions on it. I think it was pretty split between who won. But I think Kerser sort of, I think you can look at where hip hop's at in this country now, or rap in this country, and so much of it goes back to Kerser's influence. I think a lot of the Oz rap now owe a huge debt to that dude, because he really, when there was no one like him, he came out and was like, I'm the sickest. And it was like, what the fuck is this? But he backed it and wrote it, and he's still here, 12 years later. And you look around at the scene now, and there's so much of his influence in it. So it's like, it was pretty big deal. I feel like it was later than 2010, because I'm sure Falling and Flying was already out.
No, you're right. Because in the battle he goes, Fall and Flying.
I bought it. I'm lying. Yeah. Yeah. So I think you know, for 60, who was at that time, other than the Hoods, was the biggest act in the country, and then for Kerser, who was known, but what his influence was going to be felt a long time later. It's pretty wild when you think about it. Like, a lot came from that battle, you know.
And because Kerser had a stint on Obese Records. When he was on Obese, were you on Obese, or that was different?
I think I'd just left. I think I'd either just left, or maybe there was a little bit of overlap with the Bring It Back era, but I think I'd left. Yeah.
And another thing that 360 had a hand in that I don't think gets talked about enough, but it's on the internet, people can check it out, and I hope they go look at it after they hear this interview, is, do you remember the Top Billin' Cypher with 60, Pez, and who was it? 360, Pez, and Seth Sentry. Do you remember that?
Nah,
man. Go look at it when you got a moment.
Word.
when you said that thing about, you know, keeping it real.
Yeah.
Pez has the funniest line, something to the extent of, like, you guys talk about this keeping it real shit. That's exactly what you're doing. You're keeping it real shit. Like,
I feel like I know that line, but maybe I have seen it before somewhere.
The lesson. 927. Oh yeah.